Today we will be taking you through the start of the internet. We will be leading you through the early stages of what is now known as the internet, a powerful network of ideas and databases of information. The advent of the internet can be traced back to the midst of the Cold War. In 1957, Sputnik, the first man-made orbiting satellite, spurred the U.S. interest to keep up or to surpass Russia in technological advances.
But years later, during the 1960s, information on computers could be passed by packet switching, which played an integral role in the initial development stage, and fearing the communists would be in the technological elite. The Pentagon set out in 1969 to advance the range of American sciences and technology. Packet switching was a process of sending information through bits and pieces to put together a mode of information transfer.
As opposed to circuit switching, which telephones used to transmit data as a whole. Packet switching was made by breaking up data into blocks and putting them back together on the receiving side in order to send messages. In this way, complex messages could be sent quickly because it did not require point-to-point destinations, but rather blocks which can find the fastest way to its destination.
This helped set the stage for the upcoming project to compete in technological advancement against the Soviet Union. To do this, the Department of Defense started up the group ARPA.
ARPA, or Advanced Research Projects Agency, was a program to help develop a system that would advance military tactics and technologies within the United States. Soon, developers had conceived the ideas of a massive network of computers which ran on packet switching and would account for the loss of communication due to a theoretical nuclear attack, should it happen.
The network would be an emergency plan to communicate ideas quickly. It was designed to be a backup plan used by computers. The idea spun into the idea of the ARPANET. The ARPANET project was mostly devoted to researching an information network which could hold and safeguard military secrets at separate locations across the country. It was a safety precaution so that not all vital information would be lost due to an attack.
It used the NCP, or Network Control Protocol, as its key method of transferring information throughout the entire network. Researchers on the team put several universities up to the task of linking their computers to each other in order to test the ARPANET's full capabilities. The universities involved were UCLA, University of Utah, University of Santa Barbara, and the Stanford Research Institute.
To test it, UCLA would attempt to hop onto the Stanford computer to transmit information. To keep up with the other, UCLA and the Stanford Research Institute would talk by phone to guide UCLA to try to communicate the word login through the test.
As later developed after this first data transfer, developers could soon pull anything from another computer on the network if they wanted. As an ARPANET grew, it also caused some unexpected problems. Soon after, scientists realized that the NCP was susceptible to network overload, so in 1974 there came another protocol called the TCP, or Transmission Control Protocol. It was used as a combination of the IP, the Internet Protocol, to make sure everything was working the way it should be and to help account for any missing data lost by the network.
As the network began to grow, the ARPA was disbanded after the military realized that the ARPANET could become too widespread and thus jeopardize sensitive military secrets. This was soon connected to more and more nodes, and thereby more computers to integrate into the system.
As it was doing so, the system spiraled away from using the network solely for military purposes, and more of it was now used in a more civilian manner. Thus, the military disbanded the ARPA project and set up the MILNET, a network consisting of solely military information.
Slowly, the ARPANET was soon replaced by the NSFNet. As the program was abandoned, the National Science Foundation started up the CNSNet. The Computer Science Network is an in-between between the ARPANET and the NSFNet.
It was a gateway to the NSFNet by using the CSNet first as a transition point between the ARPANET before it was shut down. The NSFNet was developed by funding from the National Science Foundation. However, the National Science Foundation funded the development of the NSFNet for science, technology, and computer education in order to get the public more involved in computer networking.
The universities involved in this program were Princeton, University of San Diego, University of Pittsburgh, Cornell University, and University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign.
This move sparked further development into what is now known as the Internet. Through the movement, educational material, research, and science resources could now be sent to a computer within the network. It had the capabilities of the ARPANET and would come to serve schools who would also be integrated into the vast list of members into the network.
In the 1980s, the networks began to be commercialized and some were even localized. These were for companies and businesses which need a firm communication system to transfer information with ease.
These took an Ethernet cable to transfer information across each network. It took a shorter time to transfer information than it had previously and allowed more people to work on the computer in a localized area.
The Ethernet was the turning point of the development of the ever-growing network, and it helped transmit data quicker and more efficiently than any other innovation of its time.
Before the Ethernet, it was difficult to even connect 3 or 4 computers to a network, but with the Ethernet, hundreds of computers in the same building could be connected to the same network simultaneously. This has been built off of some of the software made from the now obsolete NCP and TCP protocols.
But mainly, it was a wiring system for new hardware which detected data collision and made networks more efficient in transferring data. It made mass connection to the Localized Access Network, or LAN, possible.
In time, networking became to be more commonplace as more computers were more accessible and user-friendly. Being less chunky than the early computers helped as well. More people started using computers, and therefore more people were using networks.
Development took off from there and eventually expanded and became what is now known as the Internet.